Want me to get the chair?
What's that?
Have you got a top and make me feel comfortable?
Super side?
No.
No.
It's one of them black chairs.
Laser thing I ain't on.
This thing on.
I would hold on the hand. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going.
This your water?
No, I'm going. I'll stir it.
Okay.
I guess.
I guess that could be the rotation.
Yeah, because I can't be walking back and forth. But you know, I'm going to be walking around with this mic at some point. Where are my glasses? They cleaned my eyeglasses up there at the eye doctor, baby. This thing was shining like new money. Are you going to Ebenezer tomorrow?
It's in my hand.
In the middle. Where you at? Yeah, you got the mic first.
I'm sitting here to encourage people to get this shit underway. I know.
Mike is spicy.
Very spicy. It's why I am also again.
Hello, thank you for coming. You could have this seat if you want. I just wanted to put y'all on our. We have the living room that has table covers. Yeah, thank y'all for being here.
And then the times. What I would like to do, honestly, I would like to. I got plans. I got plans. That's what I trust in. Yeah, this was. Well, yeah, no. So yeah, I'm going back.
These microphones are not on, are they? Oh yeah.
Are we gonna look at the US version now? I didn't touch it. It was falling. Are you gonna work with it? It was falling. What? Okay, we'll talk about it. No, it's on.
Okay. Hey, everybody, we're going to get started. Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought y'all were sleeping. Good evening. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate y'all coming out this evening. Look at all these beautiful faces. It's good to get together for a good cause. I'm Kiara. I got involved with Renters United organizing committee because my mom, she's an MB affordable renter, and we're just all fed up with what she's dealing with. I'm a renter myself with another landlord, but I live in the midst of these other properties, and not only are they taking it from us, but they're also being torn down. They look raggedy. It's an eyesore. And we need to really get together and start building up our communities again. Tonight, a lot of our speakers and what we'll talk about will focus on MB affordable units. They bought over 1,300 housing units from ARCO in 2023. I'm here not just for a fight for better conditions, but also because we know we got to fight back. So if you're here because of issues with a different landlord, know that we'll talk a lot about one landlord, but we're continuing to fight for justice for all of our housings and our units. If you're a renter experiencing issues and you didn't fill out one of the papers over there, if you can kindly raise your hand, we'll get one out to you. And if you could turn that in by the end, we'll really appreciate it. So the bathrooms are out straight out the door to your right. If you need food, you're welcome to get it if you haven't done so already. So here's the plan for the Renters Town Hall tonight. First, we're going to give you a little bit of background of 1PA Renters United. Then we'll hear from some MB affordable renters about issues they've been experiencing in their housing. Then we'll take some time for a breakout discussion and share our personal issues with our neighbor. Then we'll hear from Congresswoman Summerlee about her perspective on issues, and she'll break down the key things on what to know about HUD and affordable housing work and what that means for us in our fight. Then we'll spend most of our time tonight asking the elected officials some questions about specific policies. And then we'll wrap up with a quick conversation about how you can get involved with Renters United Allegheny in our fight for safe and decent housing at MV Affordable. And then we'll hear from Kathy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out. I'm Kathy Brown, the Resident Council President of Belfield Dwellings. I'm a member of 1PA Renters United Allegheny. 1PA is a Black-led organization that advances the rights and interests of working people in Pennsylvania, especially those who have been marginalized and oppressed. I formerly worked at the Sankofa House as a program manager for homeless women and children. I also at Sojourner House for a couple years. Once MB Affordable took over Belfield Dwellings, a lot of the contractors went away because these people weren't paying the bills. and everything fell by the wayside. Last year, when I heard no wonder.
Hi, my name is Cyrita. I'm a resident of Moorview High. I'm also active with one P. Hi, my name is Cyrita Milligan. I'm a resident of Moorview Heights. I'm also an activist with 1PA. I was told by friends to come to 1PA meetings to see if we could change our situation in our living there. I moved in more December of 2023. It was very cold when I moved in. My utilities were on, but the heat, the gas stove wasn't hooked up. I called maintenance to fix it, and I didn't hear from them for about 2 to 3 weeks. I had to pay someone to come in and fix the radiator, the thermostat, and also hook up my gas stove. At that time, I was just moving in. I didn't have money for food. So the money I had for food, I had to use to get to someone to hook these things up for me. For like 2 weeks without food, having to go to and having to place to eat, became very depressed. I became very depressed. Um, I became very depressed because of the situation with the money and me having to go different places and have dinner just to be able to eat because I wasn't able to purchase food. Shortly after I moved in, I noticed that the ceiling was leaking. I called them about the ceiling leaking in my kitchen. I didn't hear from them. They put it off. They finally came and they did something slightly in the bathroom. temporarily fixed it, didn't completely fix it. It still does it. Still leaks till this day. I recently just had like a flood in my home from the bathroom leaking. This is after they said they fixed it. There was also deal with safety issues. Someone tried to break in my home. I reported it to them. I reported it to the police. Their response to me was there's nothing they can do. They didn't have money for locks. So I recently had to replace locks as well. I wake up now in the mornings and there's just like a puddle of water in front of my toilet. So still kind of leaking. It's not a constant thing, but I do advise them that it's still leaking and they're still not doing anything. I'm concerned about also losing my home, even though we need better maintenance and management that we've had. I've been going through a lot with the maintenance and the management, but I really don't want to get into all that right now. Thank you guys for listening. We really need to bring this community together to fix the things and make it safer for kids and myself.
Now we're going to hear from Maddie Millinger from Hill Comp 1. That's loud. Hi, my name is Madeline Millinger. I live at Hillcom 1 in the Hill District. I have been living there 27 years. I have never had no problem till a few years ago, around when MB Affordable took over. They made repairs in my dining room and said they would be back. Never seen them again. Then one day at the end of 2023, I was walking through my second room and the floors was very soft. So I pulled my carpet back and I seen a light, a big hole looking down into my basement. So I called the property manager. Never heard nothing, and it's still going on. The hole is still there, so I called like the health department. They've been out there 5 times. Now I have water damage in my walls. Most of the repairs have been self-repaired that I paid for. I never in my life paid utilities since I've been on my own. My utilities is all included. I'm getting letters from the light company, the water company. They're not paying the bills. So, I don't know what HUD is doing because I got a voucher for HUD. They said we passed inspection. I work every day. They never was in my place. So I pay my rent. I always did. I don't even know how much I pay now. I don't even have a lease. But I still pay my rent from 2024. I give them that. So I tried calling them. Never heard nothing back from them. So the money I give them, they could have fixed this. So why do they get to get my money
in my voucher when they don't fulfill their job. I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up waiting. I'm fed up with the inspections, the processes, and promises. We deserve better than this, and we're going to fight for better than this.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Maddie and Miss Sarita. I don't know about none of y'all, but that brings tears to my eyes hearing this. And not only is it adults living in these conditions, these are also children, innocents, going through these situations. So I just ask that we can just take a little time and turn to our neighbor, somebody you don't know, and just discuss for a little bit what's going on in your housing, no matter where you live, because we're all going through something somewhere. Hello, we have about a minute and a half, and then we'll come back together. Okay, let's all come back together. If we could all come back together. Thank you. It sounds like y'all are passionate. It sounds like there's a lot of issues that a lot of people are having with their landlords. Okay, so I just want to take a poll. If we could just raise our hands. Who's having difficulties getting repairs made? Any pest control issues? Mice, rats, raccoons? Okay, yes ma'am. Bed bugs? Any structural issues? Walls, floors, ceilings? Any leaks, mold? Anybody out of heat, water? What about for days at the end, like days? No water for days, no lights for days, no gas for days. Terrible repairs from unqualified contractors. What about any sewage issues coming up from the basement outside? A lack of security guards in the big buildings that need it or the communities. What about the salt? It was just snowing. Anybody get their roads or their streets salted? What about fees that you're receiving for basic repairs? What about getting them to come out and do reassessments? What about HUD coming out? What about the health department coming out? Has anyone received anything about rent? You owe back rent. Large sums, ridiculous amounts that you may have owed. That's a shame that we're all experiencing this. I want to let you all know that we're not alone. Who's ready to stand with me, with us? Thank you. I'm happy to get y'all support. We really need to do this. And this is tonight's the night. We all showed up and we showed out. Next, I want to introduce Congresswoman Summer Lee. Winners met with Congresswoman Lee last year and asked for her help. And she's been working with us regularly to help us understand the policy situations, get information about HUD and a lot more. And she's going to talk with us a little bit about that work.
Thank you. I just want to start by saying thank you so much to Ms. Arita, Ms. Maddie for sharing your stories, and for everybody, whether you've shared it here or not, the people who have flooded us, 1PA, our offices, our staff, to let us know what's going on so that we can best advocate for you. What they're counting on is for no one to shine a light on what they do, so that they can keep on doing it. Because in the past, that's how they've gotten away with these things, right? They think that they're victimizing and taking advantage of people who are marginalized, people who are vulnerable, poor folk, you know? And they have grown so accustomed to being able to do that in the dark. And we're shining a light on that, because we want to make sure that, I don't care whether you're MB Affordable or whoever you call yourselves, whatever LLC you might have behind, whatever management company you may be called, whatever it is, we want to make sure that the days are going to end, that they're able to take advantage of vulnerable and marginalized people. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, before we go, for 1PA for hosting us, and for Kingsley Association for also hosting us, for allowing us to be here. And I want to start by saying that I don't care what neighborhood you live in, what socioeconomic class you come from, what racial background you are, what state, what city. You should not live in a place with rodents. You shouldn't live in a place that is uninhabitable. You shouldn't live in a place that has repairs that go unanswered for days, weeks, months. If you have leaks, it shouldn't be days that it takes to be. So let's start and establish that. I heard Brother Randall say that housing is a human right, period. That's it. And we want to establish that right here, right now, as the standard, that housing is a human right, not a luxury. So just to give you some background, the first time that we got called to a meeting about MB Affordable was back in 2023 with Homewood House. It was actually the tenant council and the residents of Homewood House who called us because they were dealing with just deplorable conditions. Some of the ones that you heard other folks talk about today. We heard about consistent problems with rodents, with security, with leaks, with maintenance issues. So we went there because we wanted to learn about this to see how we could help. We talked to residents regularly. It was me and my staff, Mayor Gainey and his, Councilman Kohari Mosley and Rep. Mays, Sarah Namorado, our county executive, and then the residents who were leading us in that moment, as it should be, who were coming together to demand then of lakeside management to do something about the conditions that they had folks living in. And as you know, we quickly realized back then that Lakeside didn't care, or they just were too incompetent to take care of people. But we also went to them. We went to HUD to demand that Lakeside be removed from the properties, all properties in the region, and banned from ever managing HUD properties again. And they were banned. But we were concerned at the time about who was going to take over as property management. So we brought the president back then of MB Affordable to Homewood House to get some answers. He, of course, apologized for what was going wrong. They blamed, circular blaming, right? How many people have dealt with that? The circular blaming. Oh, it's this person actually, it's the manager, it's the company, it's HUD, it's this, it's that. We started to come up against that very quickly. But what we learned was that MB Affordable was not a one-time offender. 1,300 units they have just in our region alone. And when we dig a little deeper and we peel back the layers, we found out that they had properties all over the country that they were mismanaging regularly. Not only that, these are units where people had no heat, right? So much more. So we continue to convene a coalition to start to figure out how we can hold them accountable. And what we learned is that those folks, MB Affordable, were on their way to jail. That these folks were so fraudulent in what they were doing, using HUD subsidies, availing themselves of public dollars, lining their own pockets, and running away with the profit, leaving everyday folks, working class folks, in conditions that nobody should live in. But here was the problem, right? So they're getting these HUD subsidies, but they're not taking care of the properties. But we heard a couple people here talk about the vouchers, right? Well, there's a voucher that's connected to it and HUD needs to come in and fix it. But what we were finding out is that it wasn't just HUD. These are privately owned places. A deeper problem, right? Privately owned places, private owned companies that are availing themselves of public dollars, stealing, because that's what that is. They're stealing from us, from the public trust. And MB Affordable is just one such company, and it is the one that we are focused on today because of how egregious it was, because of how many units they have. But even what we came up against is like, even what is the remedy, right? Because if we bring HUD in, which we did and we were, but HUD is saying, well, if we get rid of them, what happens to the housing? Does the voucher follow the person or does it follow the unit? If HUD then comes in and says that these places are now condemned, what happens to the resident, the families, the kids? When they're displaced, what happens to their whole lives? When now we had to think about new school districts, we got to think about uprooting families from the communities that they know, the communities that they've lived in, all because some management company, some private equity firm, some developers have taken advantage of us. So we are now at war with corporate ownership, corporate landlords like MB Affordable. And I want to make that clear. We are at war with corporate landlords like MB Affordable. We are working collectively with these with our groups, with our management, with groups like 1PA, with elected officials like the ones who you see here, leaders who are trying to figure out at every level of government what levers can we pull to make sure that not just MB Affordable, but whatever private equity firm there are, that they are no longer able to avail themselves of HUD subsidies, of public dollars, public tax dollars, that they can no longer take advantage of these and then harm you. But that's the way that we should have been doing it. Because what I want you all to know is that when these rules, when these laws were made, it wasn't folks like us who were in the rooms. And not us, I mean us. It wasn't folks like any of us in these rules, in these rooms as these laws were being made. But now that we are in the rooms, now that we are building our own tables, that we are putting eyes on these policies, we're putting eyes on these practices, we're putting eyes on these corporations, on these billionaires to make sure that they can't happen, that this can't happen to anybody else. Now we want to go with demands and we want to come with policy solutions of our own. So that is the one thing that I want everybody to know that we are working on. We are working on policy solutions, like making sure that Wall Street owners can't own public housing anymore. We are working on those bills as we speak. We are working at every level to make sure that HUD gets into your units to do fair inspections, that they know who the people are who they are allowing to have contracts, that they know that people who are on their way to jail should not be able to keep getting public dollars. We're making sure that they are on a list that they will never, ever, ever, ever be able to come and own properties anymore. But we obviously know that we have to unravel a lot more. So we are figuring out this system. We are figuring out what levers HUD has. We're figuring out what levers we have, what policy solutions that we can make. And we want to make sure that as we're creating these packages, that we're not falling into blind spots like we have in the past. So that's why we're here today. That's why we're here weekly. We meet weekly with residents, with victims of MB Affordable, so that we can consistently work on this, so that we consistently hear from you all. So just know that the things that we do, every story you tell us are not in vain. We take these stories back, we get them to HUD. One thing we were able to do is we got HUD out to Monview Heights. We want to make sure that they get to all of the properties, and they have not yet. So we want to make sure that they're getting to all of the properties to see firsthand what they're making, what they're allowing our community to live in, what conditions they're allowing them to live in. We take those stories back. We put pressure on management every single day. We know that they're moving slow, but they're going to get hell from us until they fix every single unit. Every single unit, they will continue to get hell from us. And just to close, I just want to acknowledge that you don't need me to say it, that you all deserve better across the board. You deserve better across the board. Our communities, they absolutely deserve better. And we are committed to figuring out what it is, everything that we need to bring light to so that we can fix this. And we want to continue to do this work for you. So we know that you're frustrated. We know that you're tired. We know that you're cold sometimes. We know that your heads are underwater, literally, from the leaks, from the maintenance issues that they will not fix. But you have voices here. You have voices here that will continue, that will be unceasing in calling this out and working to fix. So I thank you all so much for bringing this to us, for working with us, for your patience as we're figuring this out, for sharing as you have. As we get information, we will continue to share it with you. We will continue to bring you in, and we will continue to cause hell for these private equity firms until they don't exist anymore.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Lee. We appreciate you. And next we will hear from Sarah Inamorata.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories. When we talk about this stuff, we need to make sure we put a face to what has happened, because NB Affordable, they're awaiting sentencing right now. They are criminals. They are not going to be able to do this again, and we will make sure of it. And for all of you who came together, because I know that everyone in this audience believes that safe, decent, healthy, affordable housing is a human right. And it is going to take all of us working together, not just the Congresswoman and myself and the mayor and all the elected officials who are here, but also working with, our legal aid community, with the courts, with community members and impacted residents, with resident councils. It is going to take all of us to realize that vision. And so I'm going to provide a quick update, and I want to make sure that it's going to get nitty gritty and it's going to be no BS. So on January 29th, my office received reports of needing to relocate a number of Monview tenants because there were frozen pipes and a lack of heat. So we were notified by Councilman Kahari Mosley and Representative Latasha D. Mays. Our Director of Housing worked directly with PRT's Chief Transportation Officer to dispatch a PRT bus to shuttle all affected residents to hotel accommodations that evening. And we continue to engage with the local elected leaders in West Mifflin, Matt Rubin from 1PA and all of you, attorneys from the Community Justice Project, as well as folks from HUD's regional and national office, and the receiver. That's important. So NB Affordable they're absent. They're going to jail. They're not involved any longer directly. We do have a receiver right now. Their name is Tri Guild, and we need to make sure that that's who is investing in the properties and getting them up to code. This is all super important because there's only so much that we can do here locally. We can use our bully pulpit as elected officials to make sure we convene, make sure we hear from impacted residents. But there's a lot of really good ideas that we would like to be able to implement at a local level, but the state prevents us from doing that. That's something called state preemption. So there's a lot of things that we need to make sure that we are acting on locally, but also recognizing the limitations of what we have locally and when we need to call in our friends at the state and federal government to say we need to see changes so that we can enact best policies. Under the purview of the county executive, I have the health department. So we actually have the health department here this evening. Inspections are complaint driven. So if there is something going on with your rental unit, you can file a complaint with the Department of Health. And we are working, my Director of Housing is also here, we are working to strengthen anti-retaliation protections for folks because we need to hear from people. We need a report so that we can go out and do that inspection. There is also limitations to what our health department can do. We can issue fines and fees, but and NB Affordable had a whole rap sheet of fines and fees and they didn't do anything. So we need additional powers so that we can go in and force repairs and be able to give higher fees and fines when people aren't behaving the way that they should. We need to be able to go in and do the repairs ourselves and then put liens against the property. Things like that can take care of the emergency situation so that people don't have to live in the terrible conditions that were described this evening. So those are changes that need to happen to Article 6, which is what governs the county public health code. So just want to pin that there, that's in the works. We want it, we believe in it, we think that it needs to happen. We have the authority to do it. But it's not just about NB Affordable. There are so many people who are here, who are renters, that need more rights, they need more of a voice, they need more of a platform. And we are working on figuring out what we can legally do to help support that, to support tenant rights and to make sure that we are giving you the tools to advocate for yourself and to protect your housing. And I also want to note that after the passage of last year's budget, we made a historic investment of $7 million into housing. That has never been done at the county before because we need money. If we want safe, affordable, decent, and healthy housing for every single person throughout Allegheny County, we need the money, we need the capital to do it. So it is a drop in the bucket compared to the need, but it is a small step forward. So know that we are making those investments because you are all worth those investments. You are worth us taking a stand and making sure that we're putting our money where our mouth is and investing in safe and affordable and decent housing for every single person.
Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we have, I'm going to set the ground rules. We're going to, 1 minute to reply, yes or no, answer. The first question is to the empty chair. Lynn Management, will you commit to the full list of demands for profession, sustainable, timely repairs? The second question is regular fumigation, extermination. As you can see, there's an empty chair. Safe, health, and security, and secure sites. Again, no answer. And a common space. Full transparency of the ledger and accounting and stopping all unjust fees. Again, no answer. And meet directly with the representatives and group residents for the building and the tenant council on a monthly basis. To the elected will you commit to your elected officials, will you commit to standing with us in our fight for the future of housing, where those demands are met by whoever and everyone in charge of these properties? Thank you. Direct and yes or no, clear and concise. And I want to thank you, all our representatives over there, Mayor Gainey, Councilwoman, Sarah, our council people from each district. I want to thank you very much because I know for us, my councilwoman's working good for us. Okay, she's standing up, and I know as it's brought to the forefront, you guys are going to come together and find a solution. Thank you. So I'm going to restate the questions, and this is directed to you politicians as it was to Lynn Management. As we can see, they ain't there. But anyway, will you guys commit to the full list of demands for professional and sustainable timely repairs? Clear? Yes? Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Regular, you in this microphone?
No, it's just this question. Yeah.
This question?
Yeah, each one of them gets a minute.
Okay. The elected officials, each one of you get a minute to respond to this question. Will you commit to stand with us in our fight for a future of housing where those demands are met by whoever and everyone in charge of the properties? Each one gets a minute to respond. Can we start with you, Mayor Gainey?
So y'all know that ain't no question for me. You know I'm gonna stand with you. You already know that. That's easy for me, you know. I grew up in Section 8. I understand Section 8. Okay. I remember the high rise quite well. And I know exactly what it was like. But I also know that we got to stop people from hiding behind these tax shields where you can't even find out their names of the many owners that own a property, but they can get all type of public money, but because of a tax shield, you can't identify their name. That's wrong.
Can you pass it to your left, please?
Oh yeah, my answer is a resounding yes. It's something that I've been focused on. I got to give a shout out to my staff, Grace, Latia, Leslie, Dr. Hobson in the house. Can we give them a round of applause? The District 9 crew. And I got to give a shout out to Ashley Bryan from the mayor's office. Sometimes I come into the office and they got the war room. They've been working so hard on this issue, and it's really opened my eyes up in many ways to the real challenges that so many of you are facing. I just want to share a story because the brother to my right, Mayor Gainey, we were up at Maple Ridge. Now, that's not an MB affordable property, but it shows you how insidious.
Excuse me. Can you pass the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
Oh, you got 30
I'll
seconds.
share the story.
I'm sorry, mister. I'm sorry. You got 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when me and the mayor were up at the Maple Ridge, going apartment to apartment when the heat was off. Now, this is not an MB affordable property, but it's still part of the same insidious, toxic ecosystem that we're facing, with housing. And me and this brother right here were in apartments, with people with their ovens wide open for heat. So it was such an eye-opening experience. So my answer is yes, we will stand with you till the end. This is not going to be a short journey. It's going to be a long walk, but we'll walk with you every step of the way.
Okay, thank you.
My answer is also a resounding yes. I'm Erica Strasburger. I am a city council member, and I've been proud to be working with Ms. Kathy at Belfield Dwellings, who you see up here helping to MC tonight. When I learned that it wasn't until the change in ownership and management that she and her neighbors were experiencing pests, bed bugs, leaks, repairs that were started and never finished, living in that state, but then multiplied by hundreds throughout the city and region. It was really illuminating having my colleague, Councilman Mosley, just really paint that story from beginning to end, and that is unacceptable. As we've heard, housing is not just a human right. We all should be able to live in healthy homes, feel warm in the wintertime, cool in the summer, live in homes that are free of lead, mold, radon, mouse droppings, etc. So we all need to be, I think that the theme of tonight is not just coming together, all of us, coming together multiple levels of government to fix this problem. I know we're going to be getting there later. And
excuse me, not to cut you
I
off.
will pass the mic to the
please.
left. The time is up.
Does this one work? You can hear me? Hi, I'm Deb Gross. I'm also on Pittsburgh City Council. And yes, I commit to working with you so that all housing is clean, safe, and affordable, and that you can live with dignity, and that your repairs are made promptly, and that you know that you have someone who's looking out for you. Listen, I just want to echo in the little bit of time that I have that these corporations, these private equity companies, these Wall Street fueled greed is taking your money, right? It's making the whole city poorer, and it's taking your federal money too. And so thank you all for organizing so that we can all work together and work for everyone else who's not here in the room. So you are the leaders, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Can we hear from you, Ms. Bethany?
Hi. Oh, my voice is loud without a mic. My name is Bethany Hallam. I am the at-large member of County Council. And do you not need me to have a mic?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. Resoundingly yes, as everyone else would say. I also really appreciated being able to actually see the issues with my own eyes, because I think it's one thing to see pictures, it's one thing to hear stories, but thanks to Miss Cyrita for that. I appreciated you inviting me into your home and really spending the time to make sure I understood, because that's how we can advocate for you. So if you're comfortable, please invite us. We will be there. That's our job.
Take my, yes.
I already went. Yes. Yeah. Until every single person everywhere, all over this town, this city, this region has the housing that they deserve. We will continue. We will be in the trenches. We will bring you along with us. We will come with you. We will do whatever it takes. Because again, housing is a human right. It is not a luxury. And also, we're going to tax billionaires. We're going to tax the rich because I'm tired of them taking money from you. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's try to do it locally too. So yes, and I do want to say that the county has filed a motion to intervene in this process, and we're waiting for the court to grant that. Essentially, what that allows is the county to have a seat at the table. So right now, the properties are in receivership, and they're not the permanent owner. So we want to make sure if the courts grant us the ability to intervene, that we have a seat at the table, meaning all of you have a seat at the table, so we can make sure there's a better future for these properties.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's good to see a good turnout, which is awesome. And for the officials, we appreciate you guys for the turnout also. My name is Denise Mighty, and I'm an NB affordable renter at L Home in Lincoln, Leamington. I've been living there for about over 25 years. I've been there for the different changes of different ownerships, and it's like, as the years went on, it was not pretty. Just to let you know how important this town hall meeting is to me today. I've been battling the flu, still sick a little bit, but I'm here today. I'm back there on an online class also, but I need to be in my bed. So this is how important this situation is to me and everyone here in this room. So again, thank you all for showing up tonight. We know there is no path to housing justice under the current ownership of these properties. But just as any new owner that the banks who own NB Affordable's loans sell it to doesn't necessarily mean it'll get any better. We need renters to have a say. We need an owner who will meet the renters and meet our demands. And we need your help to make this happen. Will you work with the renters to identify and advocate for a pathway by whatever means possible to show to any means possible to some form of responsible ownership of the NBA affordable properties, to put these properties into the hands of public housing authorities, community control, responsible nonprofit housing developer committed to working with the residents? All right. Maddie?
Okay, I ain't got to do this, do I?
But first, we're going to do each question, we're going to go down the line with a minute each. So.
Yes, absolutely. I think the clearest, best path forward is to take away the private ownership of these housing complexes and make sure it's run by people that you get an opportunity to hold accountable every time you go to the ballot box. If the county housing authority has ownership of the property and the county housing authority is not taking care of your property, then you run somebody against your county elected officials. If the city housing authority has ownership of a property and they're not taking care of your property, then you run somebody against your city elected officials. Right now, we have people who are succumbing to the grips of capitalism and making corporate greed their priority as opposed to standing up for the people who live in these properties. Our best way, our best path forward is to put it under a place where we do care and we will show up for you. You know where our offices are. We live in your neighborhoods. Show up and make sure we listen.
This is like one of the most important points that if we take anything from tonight, that public housing should be public. It is public tax dollars that's paying for this, and that these private equity firms are able to come in, steal that money, and then they have no incentive to go and do this. So right now, this is actually one of the most important phases. We got NB Affordable out of there. Now we have to make sure that it's in the hands of folks who actually care about folks. We have to make sure that the people who are going to come in next are going to come in here and do the same bullcrap that they've been doing. So that's why we want to make sure that that this is our table, that they're coming to ours, not us going to theirs. We want to make sure that the folks who get this understand how important it is that people live in good housing. That isn't dilapidated, and we want to make sure that whoever it is, right, we obviously want it to be the best folks, but whoever it is, that private equity firms no longer have their claws on our housing. And that's going to take all of us to keep raising this up, and we're going to keep shining that light on it until we make sure it's in the right hands.
I just want to be sobering for a minute. We don't have control over private sales of property. We are working in a system of housing that has been created over hundreds of years, decades, and these laws have prioritized profits over people. That is the environment that we are working in, and we are working every day to unravel that and put public dollars into public housing that's run by the community. We want that vision, but we are working in a really difficult place right now. That's why the county has filed to be an intervener. We need the courts to approve that. When the courts approve that, we can have a seat at the table. We still can't control who ultimately purchases it, but we can be a very loud voice, and we can direct where we want this property to go and to make sure it goes to a responsible owner, and ideally go back into the public hand. And this was not something we had when ARCO sold to NB Affordable. The county was not an intervener, no public entity was. It was a private transaction. This is saying we will not stand for that, the county will not stand for that, and we will use our standing and legal authority to do something different this time.
Until we, as the housing authority, control the property in our city, we can't have affordable, safe, and decent housing. Throughout the years, they've given contracts to people that we don't even know who they are. They've given contracts to friends. They've hid them behind tax shields. They've given them to private equity group, and we don't know who they are. Until the city housing authority is able to own our property. And I know that's a long time, but listen, there's no microwave meals in development. If we want real change, we got to fight for it. We got to be able to go to D.C. and talk to HUD and tell them, listen, let your local housing authorities run these properties. Let them be able to determine exactly what's going on in these properties. Because until we have control, so like she just told me about Northview Heights, we're going to have a talk today. Because at the end of the day, now that I know about it, she shouldn't have had to pay no money. Yeah. And so we got to deal with that. But the reality is if we control the rest of the properties that was in this city, we could do the same thing. Give local control, and if we got local control, we'll have affordable and decent housing.
We are in the midst of a housing crisis, not only here, but around the country. And as long as these private equity firms and these bad actors are allowed to profit off the most vulnerable in our society, we are never going to solve the housing problem. We are never going to solve this housing crisis. So it is an imperative upon us to be able to take these properties off the hands of those who are more interested in profit over people and put it back in the hands of the public trust, of those who are committed to taking care of people and ensuring safe, affordable, healthy housing. Because if we don't do that, we are going to continue to be on the losing side of this fight. And the profiteers will continue to take their trips to the Bahamas, and take their trips to Cabo or wherever they take their trips to, because I don't get to take trips there. And I'm sure most of you don't get opportunities to take trips there. But this is the opportunity that we have. It's going to take this coalition, not just us up here on the panel, but the whole crew. The whole crew. Like, people that know me know I love hip hop. I love the Wu-Tang Clan. And the Wu-Tang Clan is the greatest because they're a squad. So it's time for us to squad up like the Wu-Tang Clan. And you know what they say about the Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan ain't you know what I'm saying? So that's what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? We got to be the Wu-Tang Clan right about now. I'm going to pass the mic like ODB used to do. Rest in peace, ODB. I'm going to pass it over to Method Man.
So here's something that we know puts profits over the people. It's true for housing, it's true for water, and it's true for so many other things that belong to us, the people. And so when we're even talking about non-public housing, we know it's even harder to have a say as government officials, but we want to make it so hard for slumlords to do business in this region that they don't even want to deal with us, right? We want to come together collectively as all of us, as all of these levels of government, and be doing the inspections inside units, whether it's HUD or whether it's our own city inspectors or our county health department inspectors. We want to make it so apparent that we are on the ball and that we are going to fight back every step of the way at every level of government, that they don't even want to try to bother us here until we can fix the level, fix it at the level of the federal level. That's what I think we have to do. So let's empower everyone to also stay in the fight, and you know, if you are someone who has grown up in public housing and you've experienced this, then you should be the one running for office. You should be the one owning the units, owning the buildings, having a say as the decision maker in this as well. So that's my vision for what we can do, not just now, but into the future.
Yes, I actually have a cheat sheet in front of me. So yes, I will work with the residents to identify and advocate for a pathway by whatever means possible to some form of responsible ownership of NB affordable properties. And I shout out to all of you because you also put in or community control, right? And I see some people in the audience fighting for community ownership as well. So I am fully supportive of public authorities, housing authorities, public ownership, or people ownership, right? Right? And so that's another thing that there are places around the country doing. Maybe the tenants can own their property. So let's talk about that too. Love to talk more. Thank you.
You hear me? All right, thank you all.
To the elected officials again. Will you work with the renters and housing groups to introduce legislation by fall of this year to prevent corporate landlords from buying affordable housing? Either or.
I have a bill for that, so I think we'll have that one introduced before the fall, because we're about to be ready to roll that one out right now. So when we say that we're ready to stop slumlords, Wall Street slumlords, we mean that. Now we know that we're working through the government that we're working through, but we will deal with that as we deal with that. And to that end, someone told me that I should plug my town hall, that's tomorrow, at Ebenezer in the Hill District. So tomorrow night, come out, please register. We know that we're gonna get a whole bunch of people because people are really interested in hearing about what the federal government is doing right now. So we wanna unpack that. We wanna tell you all, let you all know what's going on, what we got, what we have planned, and how we wanna make sure that our community is ready to equip to fight back too. So that's what we'll be doing at our town hall tomorrow, which will be a little bit broader than housing.
There is also things that we can do. We're very fortunate for our Congresswoman who is fighting for us at the federal level. I know everyone's terrified right now about what's going on at the federal level, and rightfully so, but there are still things that we can do to that end here at the local level. I know at the county level, I've been working with various grassroots organizations about a renter's bill of rights. I think that's very important to make sure that we say housing is a human right, but that we're actually writing it down, we're making it law, and we're making it enforceable enforceable. Again, why it's so important to have partners at all levels of government. If it wasn't for our current county executive, things like this would not even be possible. Things that we thought of doing under a previous administration that couldn't be real now have a real potential, like a rental registry countywide, something that we've talked about for a long time but was completely unrealistic without the collaboration of the county executive's office and a collaborative Allegheny County Health Department as well.
Thank you. And we do have a lot of work to do. And I will say that legislation takes a long time to pass and to be enacted. And people are hurting right now. So we are so grateful to have Congresswoman Summerlee and many allies in the State House who are working on legislation that can help change this. But what do we do now? Remember, I said this is no BS. What can we do? I cannot control the private sale of property. That's the reality, and it sucks. But we're working to change it, and we'll work to change it legislatively. But what do we do in the meantime? So what we're doing locally at the county, mics, we are working to create pots of money so that we can compete with these out-of-state buyers, with these private equity buyers, so that our tenants, that community-based organizations, that our housing authorities actually have access to pots of money and public financing to be able to put in offers when these properties go for sale. While we work to advocate for legislative changes, we are going to put our money where our mouth is and work to purchase properties and put them back into public control.
You know, I want to, first I just want to say, wow. I want to give it up to Congresswoman Summerlee. I think that, listen, it's been a long time coming because we know that HUD controls a lot of the policies and the laws that housing authorities got to follow throughout America. And I think it's about time that someone challenges HUD in a way that says that we are no longer going to stipulate to yesterday's. And so I just want to, congratulate her because I haven't seen a congressperson take up that fight. Locally, what we're doing is that's why we created the rental registry, because we want everybody to be able to register, because if they register, we know how to get in contact with these owners. These owners are hiding. And if we can change this at the federal level, do you know the domino effect it will have on the local level? And so I'm going to encourage everybody right now to be able to talk to all your neighbors. Now listen, if you can't go talk to your neighbors, it don't mean nothing. But you need to talk to your neighbors about really getting on the phone and backing this Congresswoman Summerlee's bill. Because this, to be honest with you, that don't add value, that makes a difference. It's a game changer. We got to go get that.
As the county executive duly noted that, we are very limited, we're even more limited at the city level than we are at the county level in, overseeing, how, basically how capitalism, happens. We can't regulate, again, like the sale of properties, but the one, lever that we have is code enforcement. That's one thing that me and the mayor learned, particularly through the battle that we've been having with MMS and Maple Ridge and Vitus up in East Hills. We can't control, who buys and sells property, but what we can do is when a property is in deplorable conditions, we can send PLI, and that's really the hammer that we have at the city, is sending PLI, putting a blue sticker on that unit, and forcing that owner to have to put people up in a hotel and make them spend money that they don't want to spend and get those repairs done. So I look forward to continuing to work with my colleagues on council on ways that we can strengthen that process, strengthen PLI, and strengthen the one lever that we have around code enforcement and taking occupancy permits away from bad actors.
So I'll just say yes to everything that's already been said. And although we can't introduce federal legislation at the city council level, we can use our bully pulpit and we can use our collective action to pass a resolution in support of federal legislation and state legislation. And that's something we can do together.
This one's better. This one works, right? It does. It still works. So yes, I will absolutely support legislation moving forward this fall. And I just want to also take my time to say how grateful I also am that we have our Congresswoman Summerlee fighting for all of us, that we have our county executives, Sarah and Murado, fighting for all of us. The countywide rental registry is a genius idea because I voted on that damn thing 3 times for the city and we still don't have it, right? Mayor Gainey is finally going to get it off the books, but the big landlords sued us over and over and over and stopped it. And that's the reason we don't have it, right? So we're still trying. So yes, thank you to all of you for all of your work. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Bobby Sanford. I'm a former ARCO renter, and I'm here to advocate on my behalf of those who've been treated unfairly by landlords in this situation. I stayed on Brushton. I think Ed was state rep at the time, and Perduto was leaving. And I actually paid $3,500 for my Section 8 because I lost against the landlord. So I had this question for y'all that I need y'all to answer individually, and each person gets 1 minute. This could have never happened if there were and renters and landlords. Will you work with us to introduce and pass legislation to massively expand tenants' rights and strengthen the mechanism for enforcement when landlords and violates our rights?
Absolutely. You know, I already mentioned a renter's bill of rights, a rental registry in which we can add, guidelines and specifications that everybody who is a landlord has to follow. I also think, even though we understand that we can't force a private owner to sell something, like we can make an offer. We can say, hey, here's a dollar amount that we will pay for this property to put it under public control. Will you accept it? We have to try. I think we have to think outside the box because, as was mentioned earlier by the county executive, this is the way things have always been done. So if we're going to actually be able to effectuate the change, we have to think out of the box. We have to make bold decisions. You see in this room, they can't even show up, but yet we packed a gym of people who are pissed off and are ready to fight. So let's not let this conversation stop here. Let's do something about it.
Yes, and I want to not just tackle that individually as a bill, but I want to talk about the thing that is the reason why we don't have stronger rights for our tenants, and that's money in politics. When I think about, as a congressperson, when I was a state rep, the people who have access to your legislative people are the people who got the most money. So that's why when they come and we have fly-in days, we have landlords who come, but rarely do my colleagues hear from renters. We have billionaires, we have people who are developers, but we don't hear from people who are moms and pops owners, right? We have to shift that. We have to make sure that people in Congress are hearing more from everyday people, that they're coming to events like this, that they're going to people's houses and to units to see it, so that they know who they're actually fighting for. And as long as these people, donors, these corporate landlords can put more money into our campaigns than you all can, that's whose call they're going to keep picking up. So that's why we have the End Citizens United. We have to change our campaign financing so that everyday people can reclaim our politics and our representation instead of them sending us their person who they're going to keep serving.
So I appreciate Councilperson Hallam for bringing up some opportunity we have at the county level. We also have the opportunity to look at how we strengthen the powers of the health department, how we strengthen anti-retaliation and protections for tenants. Those are some realistic things we can do. When the county puts public money into a housing development, we are making sure that there are strings attached to that money, that there are requirements to support tenants. But a lot of these changes, again, are going to happen at the state and federal level. So at the state level, I wrote 2 bills They didn't go anywhere, but one was a tenant opportunity or community opportunity to purchase, and the other one was a tenant right to organize their property. These are two bills that could still pass in Harrisburg. People need to take them up and can provide a lot of the support. And we're also working with the State Housing Finance Agency to try to change their policies. So if there's public money going into a project, then we can put requirements on that to make sure that they require things like mediation and other protection for their tenants.
1, 2. One, I agree. When we talk about the tenant landlord, our tenants don't have enough power. The law hasn't given them power. So anything that I can do from a mayor's position to advocate at the state level and federal level, I'm already on board. I've been doing that since I came in this game. But the reality is, what could we do at a city level? Because at the end of the day, we got to be able to do what we can do. And I want to thank my council colleagues, because for the first time, an historic amount of funding went towards legal assistance programs to make sure people don't get put out their housing units. That was extremely important. The second thing that we did is go and get a $30 million affordable housing bond to make sure that we're building more housing for affordability and preservation and construction of affordable units. And so we got to keep looking at things like that if we're going to continue to make life better for our tenants. But I agree with you. If we don't find a way to change some of these laws at the state and federal level, it's a problem for the local level. So at the end of the day, we got to come together and continue to fight to ensure we're changing laws, but we're ensuring that housing is a human right.
I'm fully committed to building on the work that we've done on council. The mayor just mentioned the Right to Council Plus that I was proud to co-sponsor under the leadership of Councilwoman Gross, that helps balance the playing field when you go to housing court. You know, we know that I think it was 85% of the time when there's a landlord-tenant dispute in court, 85% of the time, the landlord has a lawyer and the tenant does not. So we allocated $2 million to a fund for city residents to be able to have the right to counsel, similar to when someone's in criminal court and has a right to be defended in criminal court. In the city of Pittsburgh now, folks have the opportunity to have true defense when they're in housing court. So I was proud to be a part of that, but most of the props goes to Councilwoman Gross because she really led the charge on that, but I was a proud co-sponsor and look forward to continuing to build on that kind of work to help balance the playing field.
So I'll just kind of use the old adage, sunshine is the best disinfectant. So as long as there's a spotlight on the issues that tenants are experiencing and tenants can come together and feel empowered and not retaliated against for shining a spotlight, shining that sunshine on the issues that they're experiencing. You know, as someone said before earlier, these property owners are banking on these issues going unheard and unseen. So anything that will allow tenants to come together, organize, and be empowered to shine that light on the issues that are happening so that they can be addressed and those property owners can get out of town, I'm for.
Yes, I will support expanding tenants' rights and strengthening mechanisms for enforcement. And I just want to say also, thank you to Councilman Mosley, but thank you to the mayor for implementing the eviction prevention. Like, we can appropriate money, but it's not like the federal government, like, he doesn't actually have to do it, he's doing it, right? So he's leading this fight so that you can have legal assistance if someone files eviction against you, right? Also, like, again, getting that rental registry so that we should be going out and inspecting all of the apartments in the city, right? And so the Gainey administration is fine. I've been waiting 15 years for that, right? But the Gainey administration is getting it rolling finally. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you for getting that off the ground. And again, the inspecting and the citations that have been done already where we've seen these kinds of conditions in response to, again, the mayor and Councilman Mosley, got city citations against those HUD properties. So I think that's what we need to do more of. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Gainey and County Executive Inarada. You've got a lot of power in the city and county. We especially need you to stand with us. Can you tell us what else you're going to do to help us in our fight for safe, livable conditions for NB affordable renters?
Thank you, Denise, and I hope you feel better.
Thank
Please
you.
rest up.
Thank you.
So part of this work has already been happening in my administration. I'm in year 2. Last year, we passed an amendment that allowed for the creation of a community housing advisory committee under the Board of Health. That means more voices at the table. That means property owners, experts, tenants, lawyers, community leaders now have a seat at the table to amend what governs the Public Health Code, Article 6. So there is opportunity to strengthen that, like I mentioned in my previous remarks, and to give the Department of Health more power when fines alone fail, like they did in instances with NB Affordable. So the other thing that we have to do is get money here to our county so that we can repair these units, but we also are set up for success in order to try to dictate how this is going to be purchased. So we are knocking on the governor's door. We're knocking on the door of the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency to say we need to unlock these resources because these tenants deserve this investment. Because this is something we can't do alone. We need your voice, not only working with us at
Time's
the local
up.
level,
Sorry.
but federal and state. And thank you for using your voice and your stories.
Thank you.
To be quite frank, whatever I can do to help. I don't think that nobody should live in the conditions that they're living in when you got insects, when you got mice, when you got rats, when you got raccoons. We should never be living in these conditions.
And mold.
And mold and all that. So there's a couple things that we can do. One, I asked the city solicitor to explore city's ability to intervene in the receivership process like the county got so we could have a seat at the table. I think that's extremely important. I think secondly is, as you heard Sarah say, continue to advocate at the state and federal level to get the laws changed. But let me say this, that can only happen with us. You understand what I'm saying? Summer said it best that they pay lobbyists to do what lobbyists do to be able to fund people in a way that they get the laws that they want passed. The only thing that beats the power of money is the power of people. And I know sometimes at the end of the day, we feel tired because we don't see change immediately. There ain't no microwave meals in development. If we're going to go get this, it's going to be a slow grandma cook process that gets us over the finish line and changes the law for the next generation not to have to go through things that we go through. That's what we can do together. But it got to be all of us. When we say get on that bus, like you said today, I got the flu. And I hope you feel better. But that's the level of commitment. See, support means you show up when you feel good. Commitment says I show up regardless if I got the flu or not.
Amen.
So at the end of the day, as long as we got the will to work together to go get it, we'll change the law.
Thank you.
To everyone who came out tonight, I thank you for coming. And this ain't over. We can't just leave it in the politicians' hands because we've been here before and they keep going on. The Constitution still says we the people. So when we the people get tired and work together as one, then the problem will stop. So I want to invite y'all to come stand with One Hood, Allegheny County. So our next meeting is Wednesday, April 2nd, from 6 to 8 on the Hill District 409 Denwoody. And we're passing around the sign-up sheet for so that you can let us know if you can make it. And it's important that you make it. And if you can't make it, find somebody else that can make it in your place. If they can't make it, find somebody else to make it in their place. Because it's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. Now, if you don't want to stand with us, you can't complain when you're left out in the cold.
So thank everyone for coming out. If you've still got one of those issue report sheets that you haven't turned in yet, please do so at the sign-in table when you leave. If you didn't fill those out, please do that as well. We will take those sheets and be in touch about ways to organize around your issues. There's check boxes at the bottom to say if you want us to get a copy of that to the elected officials that are here, and the elected officials that were invited and didn't join us. And if you want help reporting that to regulatory authorities, there's also a checkbox at the bottom if you want to join us at our next meeting, where we'll be talking about planning things like this and how we're going to step up the pressure, make sure that everyone from the landlords to elected officials and everyone else, follow through on building that housing future that we're talking about tonight. Thank you everyone for being here.